The different gurus talk about how great the economy is. And keep saying these are the big signs that the Iraqi dinar is going to revalue. I just disagree with the way they think it's going to happen as far as the revaluation is concerned. The informal market are now feeling the pinch because they're having a harder time to get the dollar. They're going to have to pay a lot more for it. You can go to the central bank and get it for 1,320 instead of 1,460, 1,500, 1,600. But it's probably going to climb. Because the parallel market is insignificant in comparison to the total market, it's about 5%. 95% of the people that are doing business are doing it properly, which is huge. Advanced steps to lift the European ban on Iraqi Airways in 2025 inches. I reported some time back that Maliki had been caught with a jet filled with dinar attempting to depart for Switzerland. The jet was initially detained but ultimately allowed to depart Iraq. I saw video of the detainment, and the interior of the plane, and judging by the volume of dinar on board, it had to be multiple trillions of dinar. Article: Iraq's Federal Commission of Integrity, COI, has called on United Nations Convention Against Corruption, UNCAC, member states to enhance legal cooperation in recovering stolen assets and illicit funds. Swiss Ambassador Daniel Hun praised Iraq's reconstruction efforts, affirming Switzerland's readiness to cooperate in recovering stolen assets, and confirmed that Swiss authorities are actively working with Iraq to facilitate the repatriation of funds. Financial and economic measures. Iraqi Finance Ministry announces results of its meeting with the International Monetary Fund. Quote, the Ministries of Finance, Planning, Oil, Electricity and the Central Bank participated, focused on macroeconomic indicators, where a remarkable growth in non-oil GDP was recorded at 5% for 2024, driven by the expansion of the agricultural sector and increased public spending, with growth expected to continue at 3.5% in 2025. It was agreed to intensify efforts to expand cooperation with foreign correspondent banks. In addition to enhancing the use of the Iraqi dinar in major transactions, which enhances the strength of the national currency. Question: what do you mean by budget tables? Budget table is where the exchange rate is at that will fund the budget. They're being kept quiet, very private right now because it protects the new exchange rate from the evil that has always stolen. One is dealing with the price that Iraq is selling oil. Well, the contract rate on the Iraqi dinar is tied to what Iraq is selling their oil for, what they're selling it to Turkey, Egypt, China for, and any other number of countries. And so that price needs to be settled on, before the contract rate can be established for the dinar. The other thing we've heard relating to the contract rate, is a rate that was agreed upon already in a contract with Iraq. So that sort of negates what I just said about worrying about the new price of what that oil might sell for. They have a rate, and it's extremely good. 3 very good sources, over the last couple of days were saying that we would be exchanging no later than Saturday. Now that is possible. The latest thing we got this afternoon were from redemption center leaders, and one of whom is over 3 redemption centers, the other one is over 6, 7 redemption centers. They're good sources. Well, these 2 leaders are saying we're going to get notifications over the weekend and start exchanges early next week, which would be Monday or Tuesday, so there appears to be a couple of things that might be slight hold-ups. In Iraq, parliamentarian budget tables have not reached the Finance Committee so far. We are all wondering why. There is one very obvious answer to this question. It may have a rate change in it. I am hearing from contacts in Iraq they continue to delay until they are allowed to release, because there will be rates in there. I hope it is accurate and it makes a lot of sense. Don't ever let go of your dinars. If a bank says to you, well, I need to authenticate your dinars, we need to send them to the main branch and have them look it over. You tell them what is the address of the main branch. I'll take them, Don't ever let go. Don't lose sight of your dinar. Central bank, gold reserves grow by 45.1% year, that's a huge number. Like I said before, what do they know that we don't know? This is one of the tools they use to protect the Iraqi dinar's value. Iraq increases its gold reserves by 10 tons. Quote, the World Gold Council announced on Wednesday that Iraq has increased its reserves of the precious metal by 10 tons. To reach 162.7 tons after it was 152.7 tons during the past month, which represents 13.6% of its other remaining reserves. My wealth management/redemption folks will be working this weekend. They do not know if they will be doing redemptions or not, but they will be working and they are prepared. Financial data showed that Iraq's total revenues for the period until the end of November 2024 amounted to 135.3 trillion dinars, compared to expenditures of 136.4 trillion dinars, recording a financial deficit of 1.1 trillion dinars. Comparing the figures with the same period in 2023, oil revenues increased from 111.3 trillion dinars to 117 trillion dinars in 2024, while tax and customs revenues increased from 5.2 trillion to 7 trillion dinars, and other revenues from 4.6 trillion to 11 trillion dinars. However, expenditures rose at a faster pace than revenues, reaching 136.4 trillion dinars in 2024 compared to 109.7 trillion dinars in 2023, moving Iraq from a financial surplus of 11.5 trillion dinars in 2023 to a deficit during the current year. Compared to 2022, oil revenues witnessed a significant decline from 142 trillion dinars to 117 trillion dinars in 2024, while tax and customs revenues increased from 3.5 trillion to 7 trillion dinars, and other revenues from 4 trillion to 11 trillion dinars. Expenditures in 2022 amounted to about 89.7 trillion dinars, recording a surplus of 59.8 trillion dinars. The data shows a gradual decline in the financial surplus from 59.8 trillion dinars in 2022 to 11.5 trillion dinars in 2023, then turning into a deficit of 1.1 trillion dinars in 2024, with annual expenditures continuing to rise at a rate that exceeds revenue growth. Iraqi government spokesman Bassem Al-Awadi confirmed on Saturday that Iraq has not been officially notified of the end of exemptions on imported Iranian gas, noting that the government has developed multiple scenarios to confront any developments related to the import of Iranian gas. Al-Awadi explained that the relationship between Iraq and the United States is currently calm, and that the communication between the Iraqi Prime Minister and US President Donald Trump was objective and professional and based on mutual respect. He added that the two parties discussed developing bilateral relations between Baghdad and Washington, especially within the framework of the Strategic Framework Agreement, without addressing regional issues related to Iran or others. Al-Awadi also pointed out that Iraq will reach the stage of self-sufficiency in the field of energy by 2028,